I think my only issue was how short Kairi versus Tam Nakano was. I think I tweeted something about the women's match, and it was over 7 minutes later. So I'm not surprised that the women didn't get 10 minutes. And I guess you can technically be like, well, they had the match, and because I heard the argument, well, they had the match and they had to do the stuff with Mercedes, so they could have made something else could have been shorter. If that's the issue, if you're concerned about time, then I know it's because New Japan doesn't focus on women, and they were presenting.
I think that was a big. I think a lot of people said this, and I have to echo the sentiment. Is yes.
Me too, Nikki. Given.
Nikki says, I've missed hearing Gino say Kevin, and yes. Agreed. You guys make me think about it, and it's so cute. I think of you, and I laugh.
I am glad.
It's amazing. But I just think that I think that they knew that a lot of North American people were jumping on, and so they wanted to do something.
Right. To get people to, I get both parts. Like you said, you had the people and you want them to stay. But on the other hand, you want them to stay, so move the women later down the card.
Yeah.
Do Kenny. And I mean, it's not like Mercedes was necessarily going to overshadow Kenny. I mean, I guess for some fans, it depends on what you're watching for. Like if you're watching because you want to see what Mercedes is doing, especially if you're not a New Japan subscriber and you subscribe just to see that, I get, so for some people, yeah, I'm sure Mercedes maybe did overshadow Kenny Omega, but I think they could have done that. They could have moved it, or even if it wasn't the match right before Kenny and Ospreay, they could have done it a little bit further down the line. But I get, Nikki says that we're happy to keep Mel amused, amused during wrestling.
You do. I do.
We're glad. But yeah, so that was my main complaint, I think, about the show. I mean, it's a little nitpicky, I guess, but and especially because obviously women's matches are what I keep up with, and so that's an argument I make in every company, and here it is in New Japan.
Well,
getting Rampage time.
They're going to be using the women here in North America. And that's
to an extent, but not to which we'll get to the strong stuff.
Yeah.
But it may not be quite the way we think, but they have already announced, you are correct, they will be using them here because Mercedes came out. And it's interesting. So I want to make this, so Kevin Kelly was pronouncing it as Monet, like most of us have, but Mercedes pronounces it as Money. And that's how she says it, and that's how her theme plays. So I think that is the correct way, and it's probably going to take me a while to not say it Monet because
we're
that's
all
what
gonna.
So we're working on it. So Mercedes, she looked phenomenal.
I loved her hair. I thought it was cool.
She looked like a star. And some people made the point, even leading into Wrestle Kingdom, that not to be surprised if Mercedes doesn't get the huge reaction that we think she's going to get, because the core New Japan fans are not familiar, either not very familiar with her, or women's wrestling is not presented to them. And if they don't watch anything but New Japan, then women's wrestling is not what they see. They don't see the stuff. If they're not watching Stardom and TJPW and the Sendai and stuff like that, then.
Well, they don't even want, for the most part, even Fumi talks about this a lot on Pacific Rim, is that there's not a lot of WWE fans in Japan.
Sure. And they were saying,
general, so.
Right, and that they don't understand how big of a deal it was to see Mercedes show up in New Japan. But for those of us who did understand, then obviously it was a huge deal. So they were like, don't let that detract you from thinking that she's not a big deal, or that they're not treating, because clearly they are. They're paying her, from what I'm hearing, they are paying her per appearance the most that any I don't want to say non-Japanese, I guess it's non-contracted wrestler, I guess, because it's a per appearance, but she's getting paid a lot of money to be. They are investing a lot in her. It's not enough. And Stardom have said, they can't afford to sign her either, but they can afford the appearance, some of the appearances, and that's why the belief is that she will go to AEW because they, AEW can afford her. There's only,
except that a lot of people think that because she doesn't want to sign a contract, she won't go to AEW.
Well, we don't know what Mercedes wants.
We don't know what she wants.
We don't know what she wants. And maybe that's true, because she mentioned in the press conference after the show Yeah. So Booker T made a comment that she would have made a bigger impact if she had spoke Japanese when she came out.
Come on.
It's like, please stop listening to Booker T.
That doesn't even make any sense.
Will Ospreay doesn't speak Japanese. Most of the guys
He's
that go
starting
over there
to do it. He's starting to do it, but he's doing it the way that Kenny did, which was that slow sort of like, let me work it in.
Like Jay doesn't speak. Jay was champion for how long? And he doesn't
give a crap.
Yeah.
I don't think he's ever said a word in Japanese that we know of.
At least not on TV. So like that's such a dumb argument. But yeah, so but what I was saying before I got distracted with that was Mercedes said in the press conference afterwards that she wanted to wrestle, I think it was Yamashita and was it AZK, I believe, and I'm sorry if I got that wrong because I don't keep up with Japanese women's wrestling like I should. But those are women who are not in Stardom. And so she seems to be wanting to work with women in other companies, not just in Stardom. So maybe she will go over to TJPW and, maybe she will wrestle in these. So maybe she doesn't sign with AEW, or maybe AEW is like, all right, do whatever you want.
Just maybe they'll pay her per appearance too.
Yeah. Look at FTR. Like, they wrestled all over the place. And wrestled in multiple different companies, so they're willing to do it. And with somebody of Mercedes' magnitude, they're gonna whatever it takes to keep her happy and to keep her with her. Thank you, Brad. AZM, but it's pronounced Azumi. Maybe. I hope I'm pronouncing that right. Again, I apologize if I butchered that.
No, that sounds right.
Azumi I thought AZM was initials, and I did not realize it was pronounced Azumi. But yes, that is one of the women she's wanting to.
It's to like wrestle. One of those imager things or whatever. Grinder.
Yes. Yeah, exactly. But yeah, so I'm excited to see. I don't want to spend. We're going more with New Japan stuff on this, but I do not think that Toni Storm is Saraya's partner. I think this is a cover, and I think something is going to happen, and it's still going to be Mercedes.
They're certainly like trying to sell it that way. I think that my feeling on like the Brit comment is not necessarily that she knows or doesn't know, but that
how, because she said she's the boss.
I think that she probably did that because if Mercedes does come in, it makes Brit look like, oh, she knew the whole time. But if she it's innocuous if she doesn't
I don't think there's all this hype for somebody for it to be Toni Storm, and that's not to take anything away from Toni, obviously. But they started plugging it a month ahead of time. There's been so if it's not, and that's not fair to Toni. If it is Toni in this match, I don't think that's the case. I guess I could be wrong. But I still feel like it's going to be Mercedes. And some people have made the comment that they think that Shida is going to take out Toni because Saraya just said, well, I have the best wrestler in the world. And she was like, Toni, you're going to be my partner. And Shida's just sitting here like, what the fuck? Why am I even here? How dare you say that Toni is better than me? So I don't know that. I guess it would technically be a heel turn, and maybe some people don't see her turning heel, but I feel like, it could set up a feud with Toni and Shida that gives them something to do. Why Saraya, Britt, and Jamie, and potentially Mercedes are doing things. I can see
this week. That's the 11th, right?
Mm-hmm. It's this Wednesday.
That's the one that we're hosting the Dynamite show.
Yes, so you can catch us on the Dynamite show this week. I believe it will be both of us. If it's not both of us, it will be one of us. But I think it's going to be both of us. Depends on if Jeff wants to deal with both of us at the same time.
Yeah, right.
He may not want to. He might be like, I have to separate you two. I'm not dealing with both of y'all at the same time. Daza said Toni Storm comes out with leg, arm, and neck implants are announced as replacement. Yeah. That could happen too. I still feel like we're gonna get swerved somehow. Maybe it is Toni, and I'm sure Toni would be an excellent partner for Saraya, and I'm not saying that at all. I just think for all of the hype that it is, you can't do that.
Maybe
to Toni.
It's Trinity, and that's even bigger.
Well, and see, that was my guess last week. That is,
I know.
Well, and if Trinity is not going well, unless she does this and is in the Royal Rumble, maybe that. Because some people in WWE apparently thought that Mercedes was still coming back and thought she was going to be in the Rumble. And I'm like, you are lying to yourself. She's been gone since the summer. She was not going to be at Royal Rumble. What the hell are you talking about?
Guys, when she was gone, she was gone.
And now she's really going to be especially if Vince is there.
Yeah.
She's not coming back, and hopefully
she
Trinity's
has Hollywood money now. She can do that crap in her life.
Hopefully Trinity is not coming back, and if Trinity comes back, I hope that she gets paid well. I hope she gets a WrestleMania moment. I hope she gets a title run, a real title run. I hope she gets everything that she didn't get before. I hope she gets to be in the bloodline. Like, if all of those things come
That'd
back,
be awesome.
I hope she gets all of those things. But yeah, so I'm really interested in seeing what Mercedes is doing next. Mercedes already, obviously, she has announced her first match in New Japan will be taking place February 18th at Battle in the Valley, which is in San Jose, which is fun because that is Bailey's hometown. Bailey is from, and I love that that Bailey flew to support her. Like, she was on Raw Monday night. She was, and I mean, she didn't wrestle. She was out there with Damage Control, but she must have like done her segment and then flew to Japan right after. And then, Trinity was there. Kalisto was already there because Kalisto is going to be, well, he's the former Kalisto at Samurai del Sol is the name that he goes under now. He's going to be in DDT Pro, but he was there, and he and he and Mercedes have the cannabis company together. His wife was there. So I think it was really cool to see all that support. Then she got to reunite with FTR while she was there. Oh, and I've been following her and Trinity. I've been watching their Insta stories. They both, Trinity, Bailey, and Mercedes all got the Ribera jackets.
How cute.
And there's pictures of the three of them, and it was great, and I really love seeing that
awesome.
friendship is still there and that support. Brad said there's some talk about New Japan wanting to have the first match with Mercedes, so that's why she isn't really a partner on Wednesday. I could see that. I mean,
that makes sense.
It sucks that they hyped it up like that then if it's not going to be her, because they kind of wrote themselves into a corner. But I could see that potentially being the reason why they didn't get her. So that's a very good point.
That is an excellent point.
Daza, I have heard, I don't follow because I don't like her, so I try not to pay her any attention. But I had heard that she was thinking about not re-signing, and then her dropping the belt was maybe why. But then I saw something about a quote from her saying she was focusing on the tag team division now. But we know that tag division is pretty much non-existent in WWE, so I don't know what the latest on that is, but I heard that her contract is coming up soon, and she was thinking about not re-signing.
We're talking about Ronda Rousey for those of you who are
I'm sorry,
not viewing.
Sorry, I thought I said.
No, that's okay.
My bad.
I mean, yes. We do encourage you to watch us on the YouTube.
So you can see all of Mel's
for those of you who are listeners, because it's easier for you, and we appreciate the support.
We do. So let's see what else was on this card. Well, hold on. Okay, Daza says if she doesn't show up, that's going to screw up the matches. The crowd will be pissed unless they have a good backup, which is why I said last week I think the only person that it could be that's not Mercedes and fans might be not super pissed about would be Trinity. But I don't know. Maybe
I guess
they do. I mean, Toni is. It's not like Toni is some like bottom of the barrel. Right? I mean, it's a former champion, and Toni Storm is fantastic. And again, I'm not taking anything away from her. I think she's fantastic, and I'm a fan. I'm a big fan of hers. I just think with the build up, like you said, and if she's selling tickets, which is kind of what WWE did, they made it seem like Sasha Banks to be at SummerSlam to sell tickets. So it which I don't think they were doing that. I don't think it was like a bait and switch. I think they were maybe working under the assumption that Mercedes was going to be there. And then maybe if it is what Brad is saying, that New Japan wanted to have the first match with her, maybe they had to switch things up. So I don't think it was like a bait and switch, like she was never going to be there. Maybe the plan was to have her there, and then things happen, card subject to change, except that we didn't know who it was anyway. So they can kind of like the Young Bucks at Madison Square Garden.
Yeah, right.
People were under the assumption they never said the Young Bucks were going to be there, but people bought tickets assuming, and then they weren't.
What about what was I just saying about it? Chris Statlander coming back. You think it's too soon?
It's way too soon. She's not even cleared.
Okay.
She said like 3 weeks ago that she's not cleared.
She
was already out 6 to 8 months as it was, but she said she's not. It's not. Yeah, so it's definitely not going to be her. She's not cleared unless she was lying on Twitter, which is possible. Well, she could have been lying to deflect, but if we're taking her at her word, she's not close to coming back.
I guess we'll have to find out.